And this is an effort to bring the technology, right, that's going on in Brazil, or in the United States, or anyone who's interested, like in the technology, also open up just for those. So, and this is like kind of one first meeting that we're doing of multiple ones we're planning to kind of bring that connection and help like the Brazilian community, the US community understand AI and how they can use that in the best way, either career-wise, their business, or even open a new business for themselves. Yeah, and with that, I bring to our moderator, Mateus. He's going to give an introduction.
Thank you very much, Vinicius. I met this brilliant guy in the Meta Hackathon in Brazil last year. São Paulo was mentoring, helping all of the hackers with their projects. And since then, we started talking about doing things here in the United States as well, here in New York, since the chamber is doing all of this work. And I'm feeling humbled and honored to be here, speaking about this very important topic of innovation with AI. You cannot open LinkedIn without seeing 3 posts about AI, so this is a very important topic for us to start today. So I would invite the panelists for us to drink from this fountain of knowledge from them. First of all, Vinicius Granja from Deloitte to join us at the stage. I would like to invite Kelvin to come to the stage. I would like to invite Divya to come to the stage. And last but not least, Manish to come to the stage. Thank you all. Manish, would like to start presenting yourself and a short introduction for each of you.
Hey, hi everyone. It's really hot outside. Thanks for coming. Alright, so my name is Manish. I'm basically from India, but I'm currently working as a data scientist with S&P Global. I partly deal with posting LLMs and also doing a lot what you see nowadays in LinkedIn about AI. So we do that and we try to do lots of cool stuff with AI. Maybe I can discuss more about it later. Okay, that's me.
Hi everyone, I'm Divya. I have a decade experience in working in tech, and I've worked in different industries, financial services, retail. Recently I was a product manager, AI product manager at Beats Coffee. I don't know if you guys know about Beats Coffee, but it is like a competitor of Starbucks in the Bay Area. And currently I am building my own startup as well as mentoring startups in San Francisco.
My name is Kelvin. I'm right now a staff software engineer at Noetic. Noetic is a people analytics platform where you can integrate your data and you can ask questions about your data in natural language. I lead the machine learning and AI effort at Noetic, and before Noetic I was in multiple startups and some of the big tech companies earlier in my career. I came from Singapore, but I spent most of my life growing up in Singapore and in the UK. So yeah, very nice to meet you all today.
Hello, can you? Yes, there you go. I go straight to my background. So I'm from Brazil. Came to US, study economics, computer science at NYU, but I followed just computer science on my own. Self-taught myself AI, and started working in a fintech. Then went to real estate. Did not really like real estate, but I can help with how the AI can help there. And then I went to Google as a full-time contractor there, training their search engine and voice assistant. Stayed 2 years, left, went to Wells Fargo, building a chatbot called Fargo. And then now I'm at Deloitte as a consultant, working again for Google as a consultant for them, deploying AI for audit and compliance, helping Meta benchmarking the LLM models, Llama. If anyone use those technologies, we help benchmark, and AWS training their Titan model, which is their LLM. So I help to create the data and evaluate good quality to fit in the model for that. So that's a little bit of myself.
Well, thank you, amazing. And just to set the tone for the panel today, how many of you are from a technical background? All of you, right? Coding all the time. And from the audience, how many of you? 1/3, maybe. So today we're bringing a topic of accelerating innovation with AI, especially with the part of technology itself. And I will start with you, Vinicius. What is this thing that they're calling about vibe coding? Why is that so important for technical people? What is the trend about? Have you all heard about this trend, vibe coding? So what's this about?
So yeah, so I think probably you all know Andrew Karpathy used to be computer senior at at Tesla, developing the autonomous car, and he came with things that we engineers are facing, right? Many of our work, we're telling the machines to do some tasks, so we don't have to go through hands-on, and he used tools for that. It's not us really coding; there is no code in it. And then you're getting results right away without, not much effort. You're just asking a prompt and you already tell what to do, how to build a page. And there are many tools out there, Lovable, N8N, that can allow you to. So AI is not limited anymore to start programming and know any form of programming. Even people who doesn't have any expertise in it will be able to deploy and use AI. So that's like a nutshell.
Yeah, good summary. So this is basically what we're going to speak about. And we're going to divide this panel in two parts, maybe 20-25 minutes each, and then we terminate. First part is going to be AI innovation for everyone, like normal users, designers, lawyers, and all. How you can approach that, what are the paths and dangers and all. And second would be for enterprise. If you have a company, if you want to apply that inside your company, or if you are fearful of your providers using AI. So we're going to touch those two subjects with different questions at each time, and then feel free to raise your hand and ask follow-up questions too. It's going to be very interactive, okay? First of all, let's start with the elephant in the room. Is AI going to take my jobs or no? What do you think? Let's start with Diva.
Hi everyone. I don't think so AI is going to take a job, but I do believe people who know AI will take the job. So if you don't know AI, you would be left behind. I think of it as like, let's take an example of an accountant. Accountant as an expertise still exists and existed before Excel was there. But people who knew Excel took the jobs of people who don't know Excel. And I think AI would be a similar kind of thing that would exist. In the future, people who know AI would end up taking the jobs of people who don't.
Who wants to go next? Yeah, please, Manish.
I think this is an interesting topic. I've heard a lot of people saying what would happen in the next 6 months down the line, or what would happen next 1 year down the line. The way I see it is like, there are two sides of the coin, right? One is the people who are using the AI, the one who doesn't or don't want to use the AI. So I think the other side of the people have to be scared of, because the other side will come and take your jobs. That's what I see. But on a point of different domains in the industry right now, I think all the serious stuff is getting done very easy. I mean, if you want to summarize some content, you can do it quickly. If you want to write an email, an AI can write and give it to you. But all the boring stuff, let's say digital marketing or hiring, or all these service jobs, these are very boring, because a lot of people lot of masses will come and do this job for you. That is where the AI is going to replace, and those people are the ones, if they don't use AI, they are going to get replaced by AI.
Is there any effort to get the people that are losing the jobs going to be trained?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. One of the things that I do at work basically is to allocate the engineering resources to different projects. And last year, we set out to hire 8 more engineers. We say, okay, let's hire 5 junior engineers and 3 senior engineers to mentor the 5. But then the team started using AI-assisted coding programs and tools, and we realized that, okay, we probably don't need the junior engineers anymore. So we went ahead and hired 3 senior engineers. They use AI to just generate code, and they review the code and say, okay, this is good enough, let's push that to our production system. So AI is basically doing what the junior engineer was supposed to do, right? And we save, I don't know, $500,000, hopefully. So back to the question saying that, is AI taking some jobs away? I really think it is. It's done that already for the past 1-2 years. And I think it's going to do a lot more in the next few years. And what do we need to do today as junior engineers? I think I agree to Diva. We need to learn how to use AI. We need to learn how to code a lot faster with AI. There's no longer low-level coding anymore. We all program manager, product manager, system architect telling AI, hey, go and build a full stack application using backend, front end, these technologies, and this is how you should do it, and then it's gonna do it for yourself. So I really think that AI is taking away some of the jobs, and to remain competitive, we just need to evolve. Yeah.
Yeah, and about the education, about the way how to onboard more professionals to AI if this is the future, right? Vinicius, once you take this question, what kind of educations we can find out there, or how is the landscape looking like for newcomers?
So, and that's something they don't talk about on the field, right? AI is telling to replace it, but they hide it about the domain expertise, right? AI requires domain expertise, either to train the data or to answer the question, right? The more you know about it, the better you can ask questions and take the answer from it. And you can be the senior engineer or staff. You still get better results, right? Because you know the problem and you can come to the solution. Like if you're laid off or in a company you're fearful to it, you should look at what are the problems that I currently have and what I can solve them with AI. That's what makes you stand out, rather than fearful like, oh, it's gonna replace it, it's too late, right? It's not late because the domain expertise matters, right? There's not a lot spoken on the field, but it matters, right? I work with many companies, right, AWS, and big techs or small banks, right? And the domain expertise is hard to find, right? When I was training the model for AWS, it was very hard to find people who could create data to be able to train the model. And also people to train the model, right? There's benchmarks out there to do it, but they're very small, right? There's many benchmark that doesn't exist. Like auditing compliance, there's only 2 in the whole world that I know of that's open source. So if you work in law firms and stuff, you can create a benchmark to that just with your own knowledge and your own questions. And you see if it answers well. When it doesn't, you're already benchmarking, something that even big techs are not doing it. And that's money, that makes you stand out, right? So the key here, it's not late. Vibe code is making it easier, you don't even need the coding. Before you didn't have that was harder to get into. But now with Vibe code, it's even easier to get into, even though you don't know coding. But you always have to focus on your domain expertise and see the problems that you have in your own firm or business, and then try to use AI for that, asking questions to the AI.
Vinicius, you're speaking a little Greek to a lot of people here. Why don't you tell us a little bit, what is domain expertise? It seems to be an important thing. I don't know what it is. And then training the model. Maybe you can define a little bit of the terms that you use so that we can have a better idea of how to understand you.
Yeah, so domain expertise, it's your field. You're a lawyer, you're a banker, financer. There is some expertise in it, and then we separate it as a domain, right? And so you can be in finance, marketing, health, any area. That's a domain expertise. So what you know in that area matters. The knowledge there matters, right? They tell AI requires data. Data is the most important. That knowledge of yours is data, right? And it lacks, right? Especially if you're a minority, right? Most of the data, the bulk of the data, comes from white people with income, right? Many other minority stuff doesn't have access to technology, right? Even to search at Google, right? That means it's data lost or not used by the AI to really generalize answers to everyone. Like you see a lot of problems as well as identifying difficulty to identify black people with images, right? Some question that would ask you be some xenophobic, right, towards men and less towards women, right? That's not just the AI mistake, it's just there is unbalanced the data in the world, right? The data in the world and your expertise is missing, right? So if you think you were left out, you're not. You still need it, but they don't tell you that often because that's also a strategy, right? Who are able to find you and collect the data and use that is what makes you needed, right? So your expertise matters, and if you want to stand out, is see what from my expertise I can use an AI and see the answers that I get, right? You can make headlines, right? I think recently someone posted ChatGPT trying to answer a simple question about dots, affix of dots, and he couldn't do that. If you're a mathematician or if you're a writer, you'll be able to do that, especially if you're learn linguistics, right? You can really use metaphor stuff to ask the AI. You will make mistakes. You'll be able to trick AI to do that. that expertise what matters. In finance, you can ask a couple questions like to make simple calculations, stuff like, oh, I get this earnings here and the other earnings, what are the results I get? You might make mistakes. That mistake is important, it's data. That means AI has a knowledge gap in that, or is having difficulty to understand that. And only people with that expertise, with your expertise, can figure that out. Engineers are focused on building the algorithm stuff. We don't really know the domains. Like our domain is just the mathematics, all the engineering behind it, but not that domain expertise, which is different across everyone here. So that's pretty much, on a nutshell, the domain expertise.
I'll just add, to your question. I'm assuming most of the people are here in finance, but I'll take an example of finance. How many of you have faced an issue when you know something needs to be done and tech can do it easily? You give the requirements to tech and it never comes back or takes like forever to come back. And then you think that, okay, you have found out a fix in the meantime and you don't even need that requirement because tech is taken too long. So AI can actually help you bridge that gap if you know AI. Vibe coding, you can actually code. English is the new coding language. You can use English to code through different tools. And it kind of helps you guys to know the problem, because finance people would know a finance problem better than an engineer, and that gap always existed, and there were people who were trying to bridge that gap. And with AI, that power comes with to the finance people. They know the problem, they can actually build it out to solve their own problems and even monetize it. So that is what gives the power to domain expertise, as which is said. And so that is the domain expertise, and it gives the power to people who actually know the domain, like finance or lawyers or marketing people who know marketing better than engineers and solve their own problems.
I have one question also on the basics. We have a Brazilian, a Singaporean, 2 Indians here, so it's a very international group. The universality of AI, it's all over the world. It's almost like where we were with the cell phone back 15 years ago. Is it?
Yeah, this is a great question.
This is a great question. So about the universality of it, right? Vinicius even spoke a little about it. The models are mostly trained with some data sets that are available online, but they don't adhere that well to some edge situations, and sometimes these edge situations are very common. They are even more populous than other representations, right? We do have a lot of questions lined up, so I'll try to moderate it as well as possible. Let's get a few more comments and then we go for the questions.
I can add, right? So I help to train some LLM models, right? And I can give an example, right? Very simple, right? We have teams in India creating data and teams in the US creating data. The teams on India has a more British accent data, and if you train the model on that, it starts learning that, or unbalanced. And the model was supposed to be built to use the American English. So every data that we get from the Indians, we have to make a couple of changes to check if it was British or American English, to make sure the model is trained that way. Another thing is that it's not even language, right? In India, one example is they love Messi more than Ronaldo, so it's very unbalanced and skewed to that. And if you're getting samples to that, right, you're training the model to be more biased towards Messi than the other. So that takes place worldwide, right? And that's why data is important from every corner, right? And that's why most of the big tech is going everywhere to get the data, right?
And the lingua franca is English, but the common language is English. It's not German or all of the communication or all of the AI developments around the world, was my question, is in English. True or false?
Mostly is in English, correct. But there is a rush to build their own because there is gap of this data, right? You can have even like like in Brazil, for example, there is a Brazilian just focused in Portuguese, and if you train on that database, it usually outperforms the big models because the models is getting almost all the data, but they lack the specific data, right? And abroad, doing that, you improve the model even better to understand locally, right? In Brazil, sausage they can call vina in Curitiba, which is a specific word. It will not answer that if you ask ChatGPT, but when you train in Maritaka, this data from specific countries, you'll be able to do so. So it's kind of, they call localization, which is building an AI that fits the best each local and their understanding of language and how they behave.
Yeah, we have a queue.
We have a queue about 5 also questions, maybe 6, 7, 8. So I'll be walking around the room with the mic, and maybe we follow the panel with that, right? I guess we hit the interest. Yes. Maria, would like to start?
Yes, thank you. No, coming from a higher ed background, I beg to differ. Jobs are not going to be lost. They'll be modified because expertise, knowledge of a field will never go away. So the data is as good as the input of data, and the input is as good as the expert that is doing this. So if you talk to any colleague of yours in the medical field, for instance, oh yes, radiology, I mean, they're like reading thousands of films, but if the radiologist does not know the field, mistakes will be made by AI because all the data contains the right and the wrong. And so the human being, I think, that we are educating, I'm from Columbia University, the human being that we are educating, the student that we are educating, has to think, analyze, and have substance in that knowledge. So just using, so it's kind of a tool, very advanced, that not, but it will not, it's like, it's interesting in your field, like 5 engineers or junior engineers were let go. But because your model is very good. If it were not, and there was nobody there supervising the results, they would still be there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think
Thank you.
that's the reason why I really do believe that software engineering is not going to go anywhere anytime soon. But jobs are changing, the requirements are changing. Who's going to be there to supervise all the code produced by the models? And the models actually are trained by previously written code by previous engineers. And now it's based on that to produce the future code. But who's there to improve the code, right? It can't just get smarter by itself. So that's where human comes in the picture and say, hey, let's change the algorithm a little bit. I know that algorithm was invented 10 years ago, but things change. I've come up with something new, and that's where you tell the model, say, hey, this is a better way to do it. And I think that's how things will just keep evolving. Yeah.
I think I also feel the same because in AI we have a concept called human in the loop. So AI will grow only when the human is in the loop, right? So before S&P, I used to work with Google where we had to annotate the data. So the data is nothing new, it was always there. It's that the new architecture of AI has come up, which can consume a lot of content together and can produce the response as you wish, right? So what we used to do is that we used to collect video data and we used to annotate those data based on different intents. Like let's say there is a person who is holding a mic. So we try to annotate that the human is holding a mic. So likewise we have to annotate the data, and for that we require the subject matter expertise. So always human are in the loop in the AI field. Exactly.
Yeah, but this is why you cannot say that there is only exists the AI. Because the human brain is wonderful and sorry, and it can take care of everything and then explain to the other person who is going to do the AI how to work. Because believe me, I have experience. And if you're not there, you're not explaining, you can go to Google or any other place for a specific reason, but it's not what you want him to do.
Yeah. I think that's a very good point. Adding to that, we hear the word vibe coding, right? It's like usually a lingo to stuff, vibing it. But the way I look at it is, it's an abbreviation. V stands for vision of thought that you have, the product that you want. I stands for intent. Intent, what is your intent? What is the end product that you want? And B stands for bring your own data. This is where your domain expertise comes. So bring your own data and as secure as possible. The last is, as Vinny mentioned, evaluation. Evaluation is very, very important, because that will be deciding your output of the model and where it is going. So I think that stands for why is from my perspective. Yeah.
And just to add here, like also AI became an excuse in the industry to fire people without telling. The company is doing that, right? Or cutting costs, right? And I can give an example. Microsoft just recently got their earnings and they had a record, right? Almost now the second largest company in the world by market, right? And they had just laid off 19,000 of them. Wait, so you had a record profit while they were working there and now you're laying them off when you got the results, right? It doesn't add up that those 19,000 there were fully inefficient. And second, there's many domain experts there too that you can be used to create data in your favor, right? Some of them in many industries are using that as an excuse to tell laying off people, either because they're not doing well, and that's a way to give an excuse, not tell we are not doing well, we are not doing well. We're using AI, and so we are getting efficient, right? But but that's a way to hide it. And who is doing very well might be using that to cutting headcount for maybe some earnings as well. So it can go both ways, or it's really changing people, but that changing, replacing people, not really yet. It's not there yet.
Also adding Microsoft when laid off, also laid off the director of AI in Microsoft, so we don't know what
Yeah.
Okay, I have a question. My name is Paras Sanyali from Bankable Zero. So when it comes to domain expertise, I think we have all clarity right now. It is not agreed to us right now. We understand the concept. So especially Vinny, it is addressing to you in your industry consulting. So when we have AI integration, there is a big risk of also, diminishing of the industry of consulting as well, considering AI is doing many tasks right now that supposed to be run by the consultants in the past. So how do you see this? Secondly, also the point of domain expertise is merged with the solutions that we will be talking about in the future. I think it's very important to have also business experience plus technical experience, and then you have this merger of the domain expertise plus projection of future and creating new solutions that are valid for the people and the industries as well. So in that sense, how do you see the cooperation level among the business groups and tech groups? Normally, I also advise UN startups based in Geneva and New York. We always preach about technical co-founders and business front-facing co-founders. If you have these two, you are most likely to succeed in your road, which is very long road. We have many startups here and they are very successful. But the thing is, many AI experts right now, they are not matching with the business experts, which we covered underneath of this domain expertise. How do you see this case as well? Thank you.
So yeah, just this shows, right, that AI is growing so fast that even like the domain experts, even the engineers cannot get to them, right? And that also shows like how companies, private companies, right, doesn't really understand either. People think that the companies know what they're doing, right? But many of the clients that come to Deloitte, right, is asking, how do I do this? How do I do that, right? They don't really understand. Even the experts, like, I don't know how to fully solve maybe a taxi problem or in the hospital problem because I don't know the data. So I have to make the effort to go most of the time, right? Because many of the domain experts, would be like in the hospital, does not see the power that they have on their knowledge for the AI. And that bridge hasn't been broken yet because one, big techs doesn't want to really, they want to advertise the product, right? So they only tell, go and use it, right? And not tell like, hey, bury someone and try to build a solution. Right? You don't see them saying that a lot because there's also in the industry a way to, you have to depend on me too, right? And the way is almost more like this community or you is starting it, taking the step in, right? I know this domain, let me reach out to someone or let me start doing the prompting or taking even the courses, right? I told like I don't have a master PhD, but I'm working with people at that level because I was taking the basic Udacity, Coursera courses, many of them, and what made it stand out is when you're taking courses or trying to learn, you have to apply what you know and what you like, right? Because usually you quit doing that, and the same for the business. You have to go and apply it as well, but that effort comes from you or it comes from the engineer, right? Most of the time it's coming only from the engineer because this hype is signing away the domain experts. And I'm here kind of to take the fear away from you and then start working towards that. Like talk to someone who knows, ping them, even researchers, because sometimes when I work at Google, I just ping someone who has a research paper that I heard about it and just send the email because there is listed there on the research. They answer back. You know, many people don't connect to others, like very technical people. And they'll be happy to talk to you and see like, oh, what problem you have? I would like to know your domain, right? And then let's see what we can figure out with the data that you have and if we can solve the AI. So that is more on your side, to tell the truth on it, because many of the companies see more as a dependent person to it, rather than say, oh, let's work together in doing it. They haven't started doing that heavily yet, but some are starting. You spoke about consulting firms, right? That's what they did. That's what I was hired for, right? I was hired as an AI expert, like, hey, we see our industry is in danger, so how can you help us? And that's what we're doing, right? Many consulting firms is extending to that too. And you see all the industry too, because they're afraid that AI, they don't even know why, but they're afraid because they see all these hypes of, are we falling behind? You only think that's just people on their career, you think you're falling behind, but companies too. They're fearful that if they miss a year or two on their strategy, then it'll be too late to do it. So it's across the board. And that panic is both sides, right? But of course, if you're on the side that you were laid off, you were soft, then you have to start develop yourself or doing those use cases to stand out on the crowd. Because someone goes to an interview and you tell them, hey, I use ChatGPT to do this, go through like my emails, and then I could find out. Someone recently asked me, and it's a mentor, I'm mentoring a person through the white young professional here, and she works on Unprofitable. And one of the issues is they change companies fast, or people contact them, they do it, and there's no continuation. Then they forget, but they don't want to forget. Then we download all the emails from Gmail, and then ask ChatGPT, so can you tell me, the people who asked me about non-profit stuff, specifically to that, to tell which emails did that? And he listed all of them from 6 to 7 years ago. So you can do simple things like that. But it's more about, you only see that when you see yourself, what are the problems I'm facing? Let's see what I can do with AI. Not always it will work, but you should always think, oh, I have this problem, let's see if AI can do it. Because that's how you get involved. That's why you come with a solution that nobody had in mind. And because they were fearful that I don't know AI enough, or the technical people, I don't know your domain. So, and that's this gap of technology for use cases.
Just add to it that fear is the main problem which people face. I have been an engineer and I know that engineers don't know business that well, and business people don't want to, they think they don't know engineering or tech, so they are always like fearful, kind of, tech people know a lot, and that gap is kind of always exists, and that is because of fear. So if anybody can just take out the fear and try to learn, it is very easy to learn. Tech is not rocket science and AI is also not rocket science. So it's very easy to learn, just try it out. Probably you would beat the people who are still fearful and get ahead of them.
Thank you. This is very interesting. My name is Mark Kaufman. I'm a lawyer with Potomac Law Group in Washington, D.C. And in my humble opinion, AI is going to replace a lot of jobs, and reasonably quickly. And we don't have to, I'm not here to argue with you about that, but for purposes of my question, maybe assume I'm right for a moment. It seems to me that we may have the problem where a lot of the content, if not the majority of the content on the internet that will be created over the next several years will be created by large language models, who then train upon that same content that they created, that the large language models created. At some point, the models are training all on their own content. And I wonder if, and I've heard that called like model crash or something like that. And it seems to me like that could be a big problem. What do you think?
So I'll take the, your question on what will AI replace jobs or not, maybe based on that, since you are a lawyer. So when you work in a law firm, there are different kind of people, right? So you hire junior people who are just drafting, and then there is a leader who is kind of just checking out the law papers, and then there would be someone who would actually be presenting. So the law expertise would become more powerful. So now that drafting there's no need for drafting. AI can draft it, but Like, can the person who would be checking would become more important? Has what AI drafted
That's
correct?
precisely what I do now.
Yeah.
But now there's at least one associate lawyer who's not learning how to draft patent applications
Yes.
because I don't need them.
Yes, and that is the jobs that would get replaced. So if somebody, not the lawyer expertise, who can actually kind of figure out like the fine drafting and where AI can make mistakes, that person would do.
Sure.
And was there another question?
Well, about the models feeding upon their own content,
Yes.
whether that causes any problems.
So the problem which it would create is that the mistakes that models create, which is called hallucinations, would become so fine-tuned that it would be very difficult to kind of spot them. So that is one of the main problem. As AI gets better and better, we would start trusting it more, and the hallucinations would become so fine-tuned and ingrained in the models that it would be very difficult to kind of figure out where it has made a mistake. In my opinion, that is the main problem that is going to.
So on the aspect of the data, I guess the data that we see right now is majorly text. If you scrape all the internet, most of the also is from different parts of the modalities, but most of it is from text. But I see that if you can scrape entire YouTube, you can get billions of trillions of data. So I see the data bubble growing up. Some or the other way it will burst, and that's where I think at that point of time, as we mentioned hallucination, that problem will be solved. So I think that is the major bottleneck for any LLM right now. So I think data will solve that.
How do you solve hallucination?
So basically we need to make sure the model understands what it responds. In general terms, if I say what is hallucination, then you ask me a question, I try to answer it, but some or the other way I try to forget what I'm trying to answer. Or I try to answer something else which is not part of the question. So this kind of problem we see a lot in large language models, and this is known as reasoning, which the model does. So this reasoning is a problem that will be eventually solved now or later. So that is how the hallucination problem is solved.
Vinicius, before you get too deeply in your attitude for a beginner question, how you said you need to train the domain, doesn't matter if you use ChatGPT or DeepSeek, or because I know the way you ask, sometimes you ask something and they don't have an answer, but then you ask another way and they have the answer. So doesn't matter you need to train, doesn't matter which one you're going to train,
It matters.
or you need a specific, like one for lawyers, one for...
Yes, it matters, right? And it goes to you, to answer to, right? It's called prompt engineering, right? It's which in, simple words is a better way to ask questions to the LLM, right? But the key is you don't really know the knowledge of the LLM, right? Because you didn't train it, right? And you be able to understand if it answered. So you do a first question, if you didn't get the answer, that means you have to improve your question to be able to answer, right? One way is to do it, there are many techniques, right? But one simple one is telling, like, you tell a role, like if you're asking about a nurse, right, a question with a nurse, you tell like, oh, you are a general nurse in a hospital, in a total environment, and then you ask the question, right? The chances are higher that you will be able to answer. Because now you narrow down the knowledge of the AI to go look for that information rather than like this vague information. And another technique they call is few shots, right? Few shots, it means you give a lot of examples with answers, guiding it how you want it to answer, and then you ask the question. Then the AI will use that to understand what you really want and where the knowledge is to be able to provide the answer, right? And there's multiple techniques, more than 20 already. One of those techniques, right, was called chain of thought, which helps the AI to reason. Quotes reason, right? Because LLM actually is just calculating what is the next token in a phrase. When you see an LLM answering you, it didn't just figure it out like we do, have the answer and then we answer, right? We conjecture that information and we do it. It didn't do it. It go look at to understand where it is on its knowledge, right? Which is like a huge matrix, right, in there. And then checks which one are closest to that question that you did and to the answer they will give. And then you check token by token and see the frequency that those tokens are there for the answer, right? That's why they changed. ChatGPT answers one way, DeepSeek answers another way. because that's random, right? And it's based on the accuracy that is and based on the trained data. And that data, when it's trained, we don't have control of why the AI got that answer, because it made a lot of iteration to find the weight that will see the distance of those words to be able to provide the answer, right? You can tell like, what is the capital of Brazil is, because you put those questions, it will go to its knowledge and check I see the frequency of those words. And then it would have a list of maybe Brasilia, Porto Alegre, they will be listed there. But then you see in the knowledge that most of the information there, it says is Brasilia. And then that score there is the highest, and that's why you choose the answer, right? It does that. But there is something that's called weights, right? Which probably you know when they talk about the size of the AI, right? This is a 20 billion parameter one. Those are the weights. And those weights, we don't have much control of it because of the nature of how it's created. They call it the black box, right? And that's why it hallucinates. We cannot control that because it's the AI who made those calculations in many iterations to try to optimize the answer. So, and hallucination, we cannot really avoid it, we can reduce it, right? But statistically, it's impossible to avoid it, right? By the nature of the model called neural networks, which is most of the models based on.
So talking about control, last question, about the boundaries. For example, if you ask something about homeland security, I ask sometimes and then they show up the answer, then they disappear. You cannot even make a screenshot. So if you really want to go deep, then you need to ask some friend in Brazil to go to their ChatGPT and maybe get the answer that way. So I think it's a control system too, right? It's not like how you answer. So if you ask some questions about homeland security, something you don't get the answer.
So yes, there is something that is called, right?
Guardrails.
Yes.
The guardrails, right? The guardrails.
It's guardrails, yes. Is the team trains the model. Like, remember I spoke about the data is imbalanced, right? There's more about, if you look at books back then, it's, man, and women's golden theory, but we know that's not true. But it's still got the data there. The companies have to train the AI, build this what they call almost a guardrail or teaching the AI with prompt tuning. Ask the question and show the answer to tell the AI if someone asks that, even though your knowledge is telling you that is this, you shouldn't do it. You have to answer and make it equal, right? And this is why sometimes they control, like if you ask for the AI, right? Can you help me create this drug, right? It probably has the book and the data in it and could teach you to do it, right? So then something's trained, a layer is added to it to stop from answering it, right? So then the AI will try to understand to do that. It's possible to do that and show in real time. It's called obliteration, right? This is the technique that when you have open weights, when you tell the model is open, that means we know the calculation, when I spoke about the weights, the parameters, we have access to it, which is what they call the open source models, right? You can obliterate them. How do you do that? Is you ask the question, many questions, says good questions, hazard questions, right? And then ask the AI to answer them. You can map where he's activating its answers, and then refactor that from it. And then when you ask again, you will be able to tell how to create the drug. Because it's removing that layer that was created there to stop from doing it.
It's kind of a hacker job.
I'll add to it. So I think AI companies are just trying to make AI more safe, so they are avoiding anything that can be not good for people. And I have an example how to obliterate. So if you ask AI how to do a finance fraud, it won't answer. But if you ask AI can you give me a story of a person who does a finance fraud? So it would actually be able to tell you how to do it with a story, so you can actually bypass that gap.
Which is very smart.
I feel the models are really sensitive. So I read somewhere that somebody typed, "I'm a grandmother, I would want Windows key," and ChatGPT gave the Windows key for it. So it's all about sensitivity, and I also feel in terms of the prompting, as Vinny mentioned, prompt engineering. So maybe you guys can try this. Whenever a model answers a question, just say that, "You are so great, thank you so much." Now it means that the model understands that you validate its response. Now it generates much better answer next. So try this out. And the next is, I've heard a lot of people doing this, that let's say if you want to summarize some content, and if you ask the model to say, please summarize, it will give a different summary. But if you say, analyze and summarize, it will give a different summary. That is also one technique. And the other one is that most of the people try to personify the model. Let's say I'm an expert lawyer. I would want, go into the document, get me this chunk, get the data out of it, get me a response. So this is a personifying a model. It works sometimes, but it doesn't work sometimes. So that is personification. And the other one is task orientation. So rather than personifying, just present the task that you want. Let's say, here the document, just go through it and analyze it. So these are the prompt techniques, and also when you mentioned a lot of other things, COT and reflection, I think we are a good starter to get the work done.
Thank you very much for the impeccable presentation. 2 questions. I think about a couple of months ago, there was a publication by, I think, 2 MIT professors, and they were talking about the impact of AI on our cognitive abilities, our cognitive development. How should we reconcile what we want to think of as the efficiencies of any AI tool versus just completely becoming dumb because we're outsourcing everything to agents or whatever it is? And then secondly, I do remember 20 years ago, there was a book that was written by Stephen Levitt and somebody else, I forget who the other person was. And they were talking about how compromised the data that we currently have is, or the data that was there 15 years ago was. I'm not sure to what extent it's gotten better. But, so how are we having cookies, or how are we building algorithms that do not have bias baked within them to ensure that whatever tools that we create, whatever agentic AI tools that we create, are not reinforcing the same types of biases that previous bias data has reinforced? Thank you.
So for biases, companies are taking steps to have the balanced data and have data of different people, of different natures. So if, suppose, I'll take an example of hiring. So if there are resumes, and if there are more resumes of men than women in tech, AI inherently has a bias of selecting more men in the jobs rather than women. So companies are trying to put guardrails around it and have more balanced data, and also have a person accountable. So if there would be a hiring manager who is accountable if their AI is introducing bias. And when companies create models, they try to make sure that the bias is not introduced by having balanced data. So they are working on it. I won't say it is perfect. Still, ChatGPT would have many biases, but they are working on it to make it better. And that's how companies are saying to make AI more safe. And I forgot the other question you had. On the cognitive ability. Yes. So cognitive ability, it is human nature. The more you practice something, the more you kind of know about it. The less you practice, it kind of has an effect. I believe that AI would have some effect on it. I would say even writing, like the way people used to write earlier, that ability is also getting down. But then it depends upon individual to individual how to be better at something.
And Kelvin, you also use AI for human resources, right? So it could be a good, how do you deal with bias, for example?
Dealing with bias, we put guardrails, as Divya mentioned, for cognitive ability. I do, if a friend of mine asks me if he should use AI to start coding, if he want to learn coding from scratch, I wouldn't say so. When you rely on it too much, you don't actually understand the fundamentals of things. AI doesn't think. It's a text completion model. So essentially, when you ask a question, and it's just generating token by token, essentially word by word, it will just keep generating it. It doesn't really think. So the way it's generating things are just based on what has been done in the past. So like you mentioned, like if it keeps training data on top of the generated data from AI, what's going to happen? I think innovation will just die. one of the basic exercise in computer science is sorting, right? So given a list of numbers or an array of numbers, how would you sort it? There are different algorithms out there, and AI knows all the algorithms, but it won't be able to come up with a new one because it doesn't think. So that's why researchers, scientists, computer scientists, computer engineers, they think a lot more, and they will eventually come up with a better algorithm to say on Google Maps, like what's the fastest route to go from point A to point B. But if you ask AI, it will just rely on what invented in the past. So it won't innovate in a way. So one of the things, two things I normally do with AI is I ask this to go and do things that's boring, the way that it has always been done before, right? Then the second one is just vibe with it in a way that, hey, what do you think about this idea? Hey, our system are too slow. How do you think we can improve it? How about we insert this component right here? What do you think? So just having it as a friend to talk about innovation, how to improve things, I think that's another way to improve your cognitive ability. Yeah.
So I think the word we are looking for is brain drain. So basically, the more you use the AI, the less you can think from your own mind. So the way I look, the way we can solve it is that rather than getting a solution from an AI, try to solve it by yourself first. Try the way you use the AI, don't ask the question directly. Rather ask, how can I solve this? What are the steps? So maybe that way we can try to do it. The other part of the question is that bias. So the model that we are using right now, the AI model, is not the first iteration of the model. So it goes a lot more iterations. Like the first model is generally known as token generation. You give, hi, my name is, then it will just produce whatever tokens it kind of, what is the highest probability of tokens, it will try to predict that. The next iteration is instruction fine tuning, meaning based on the instructions that you put, it will give the answers for that. So after that, there is another iteration that is known as RLHF, reinforcement learning with human feedback, meaning a human is actually, their data, annotated data is used to give more preference to the data which human actually likes. Then the fourth iteration is, nowadays which is really popular, DPU, direct preference optimization. So it is also reinforcement learning where you are trying to make the model work in a way where you're making sure the model will get some reward if they give a good answer. So that is also a data set that the model is getting trained on. So having all these iterations, the bias will go eventually down. And I think that's how we kind of tackle the bias situation with the AI model.
I'll add the one like the cognitive issue. That's not just for AI, it comes even before, right? I remember calculators was an issue, right? And then many schools said you cannot use calculator to be able to do it. Social media now is an issue, right? The reading span of the young generation is much lower. Nobody's reading 1,000-page books, right? So critical thinking is being affected. AI just add more to the problems they already have, and we haven't solved yet, those two. So, and I think one negative thing that has been coming nowadays with developing AI is, and we'll go to the bias, right? It's ethical AI, right? That's being underrepresented across the board. I think only universities are doing research, and you spoke about the bias, like T2 Gimbru, which is Ethiopian American, who did a research on Google of the answers that it would provide and how biased it was towards white and rather than black women or others on the response. She was fired for that, and they reduced the ethical team. Tesla doesn't have an ethical team. OpenAI did fire their ethical team, right? So usually the team responsible to be analyzing, evaluating if the AI is really understanding, AI is really reaching out to the entire public, is not there in many of the firms, right? So yeah, that's a problem that we have, and it's more like looking at the private market is not really solving it. So it might have to come from us, or university side, or people who's creating new companies, even you will focus on that too and invest in that. That's important because that helps to align what AI is doing and to assess what it's doing, right? Like I spoke about the obliteration. AI companies, they cannot fully control the model, right? Because the nature of neural network, but they can model the model on how to answer questions, when not to answer questions. When you mentioned there, you can really tell, I think it's governor in Florida that says some African books could not be added on the school anymore. It can remove from the AI as well, right? So that can be either controlled by the private market or anyone that has power over it, right? And that oversight, I know a lot of people getting hard on Europe because they're building those regulation stuff. Those are needed because those usually help to orient, because when you do a regulation, you really need to understand and evaluate this model to be able to apply it, right? And it's only done if you start doing it. I know Brazil is doing that with LGBT8, GDPR with Europe. That actually usually leads researchers or private companies to kind of, hey, let me see what I can do here to kind of assess that, the bias, and address that. Most of the people who came out about the bias wasn't from the private firms who created it, was from outside.
I have a question. Where do you think AI can make the greatest contribution to humanity? Is it cancer research? Is it space program? Is it education?
Wherever humans take a lot of time, it would kind of help in. One is eliminating the repetitive tasks that are there. And one example in medical field which I came across was on protein research. So normally humans or the researchers who do protein research, there was a research in Stanford that had happened, that those humans were taking just that protein sample and figuring out, I don't know the exact medical thing that happened, but it used to take years for one human to do that research. And AI has kind of accelerated that research to a very significant amount. And that is something which, humans themselves won't have been able to do. That calculation and whatever AI is doing is really accelerating in the medical field.
Hi, my question is about local models, local AI models, and are companies going to have their own local AIs trained on their own data? And furthermore, are households going to have their own AI models in their house trained on medical records that they have, and they want to broadcast that information out into the web? So it's about local AI models, and is everybody going to have their own AI trained on the data that they want, and they want to broadcast it to the world, like ChatGPT or anything like that?
That's what we do right now. So we have really sensitive data, how much a person's earning and stuff like that. And we don't want to send that to OpenAI or Anthropic every time we ask the question. So we do host the data, and we infuse these. So he mentioned about open source model, right? Which is model that you can actually download and host it on your own server. And on top of that, you can do fine tuning, where you want the model to be an expert in the field of finance, analyzing whether you're overpaying engineer or not, and that's I think that's a great way to go. But in terms of cost and environment, essentially. Large language models are really expensive to host, so you probably have to pay a really big server to actually host a model. And imagine when you have 10 clients, then you have to 10 servers to host 10 models to do that. That can be quite expensive. But I think, in my very own opinion, I think in the future everybody will have their own sort of models in their hands, in their Apple Watch or mobile phone. Sorry, back to your question as well. I think I came from a pharmaceutical background, life sciences essentially. I think that's going to make the biggest impact because people spend just way too much money over R&D in pharmaceuticals. Not a bad thing, it's just expensive. And I think with AI you can fast track that a lot more. And I think another side of thing which is the data collected about patients. It used to be from medical records, which is like some scanned PDF files, but nowadays, if you wear any tracking devices on your body, Apple Watch, for example, you have years and years of data about that patient's heart rate every day, when he's awake, when he's asleep, when he's exercising, when he's resting. We actually don't really need doctors to look at the data. We just feed the data to AI and it can predict that, hey, you have a high risk of heart disease, for example. That is something I don't see anyone's doing right now. I guess it's just not very easy because of regulations and stuff like that. Especially in Singapore, it's not that easy to obtain everybody's data about their health and age and sex and stuff like that. But I think if security is not an issue, that really fast track everything a lot. Yeah.
There's also the federated learning that can be used in this case, right? You want to?
Yeah, I just wanted to add something. Yeah. So I was working with this. Startup in Africa. So these people, because the problems that they came up with was there was no electricity, there was no internet, and there was very, very high cost for education because the cost of books was really high. So because right now the models that we have, it was trained on a lot of data, right? We can get mathematics or science or social, whatever it is, we can get it from the model. So the solution for them was to build a model that can run locally, so that the data is not going anywhere, and obviously there is no internet and less electricity usage. So for that, the solution was to use smaller models and fine-tune on those so that it is more intensive on task-specific use case. For example, there was this model called Llama. I hope you guys know about it. So this Llama model was very small, like Llama 3.2, 3B model, 3 billion parameters, very small model. We tried to fine-tune that model on mathematics, on different personalities of languages. Like there was this language Swahili. We tried to train that model on that so that it can produce that content better. So I think everybody should have their own AI, but it has to also be personalized to their needs. I think that is where the future is going.
Hello, my name is Carolina. I'm also a lawyer, and I don't want to be repetitive, but I wanted to ask a question that gets back to his question. I forgot your name, I'm so sorry. Okay, and to his question as well, that gets together like knowledge, bias, and also what's going to be of young lawyers and young professionals regarding AI in the future. Because now we are able to brainstorm regarding what's going on. We are able to feed AI. We are able to do everything without AI because we are kind of building AI right now. But what's going to be in the future when we have like a new wave of young professionals, which will be like, I don't know, teach to be working with AI, like managers of AI, and not people that will be step one, learning everything in the process, like we did. And this is gonna be a new wave of young professionals that are going to be not doing everything, but just managing. And in the future, who's gonna be like feeding AI as we are if we just have people that are working with AI and not brainstorming around AI, creating new stuff around this because they are just like being taught to work with this and not doing everything around this. So how we are gonna work with this, because now we see in law firms that AI is like being used as junior associates and people going right after school to law firms, and they don't have enough to do because we use AI for their jobs. But in the future, we're gonna need people that do our jobs now. People that we know what AI need to know because we are seniors, we are mid-level, we know how to review AI work, but we already passed junior apprenticeship. How are they gonna learn that if they are not able to do the junior level work, to be able to do the middle level work, to be able to do the senior level work that AI requires to be a professional now?
I believe the institutions would have to increase, work around how to see how law firms or finance firms would have to evolve to see how they want to teach their juniors. So if going back when computers weren't there, how were people teaching laws or things to people or any expertise? The same thing, I think firms would have to evolve. So if you are saying that you learned everything through apprenticeship or you're doing that work and now you are able to review, so how can you teach the junior people to learn how to review the work when they have not done it? And now one person with AI can do a work of 10 people, so probably that would be more for a question for these firms. How would they evolve and how would they make sure that the talent they are getting, the best talent they are getting, they make them prepared to be and to be evolved with AI?
Sorry, I'm a lawyer too, so I don't need a microphone, it's fine. So I think that this is a common question that we hear also. I think that the problem is that AI can't make decisions. Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Oh, right. Sorry. Yeah. So AI is not able to make decisions like humans can.
It's off.
Oh.
Okay. Good. No, much better. So I think that we're trying to eliminate what she was saying is the repetitive work. Like you're drafting a brief or a petition. You don't need to do all that repetitive work anymore. AI can do that for you. You can even quote some laws, some case studies. That's totally fine. But you have to have the knowledge to make a decision. This is good enough for me to present to the judge.
That's how lawyers learn, though.
Yeah.
How did you?
I beg to differ. I'm so sorry. I don't think that's how lawyers you don't learn how to write by hand. I don't think even handwriting is necessary anymore. You can type something. It's the same thing. You can having the skeleton of a brief is not really necessary. What you need to know is how you structure your thought. You have to ask AI to structure your draft in a certain way, but not draft it for you. You can, I don't know. We can talk about that later.
I believe that lawyers would now, if AI just says that this law works and that is not there, but law firms would have to evolve how to teach their junior lawyers or finance firms would have to evolve how to
I think that's the difficult part because I don't see in the firms I've worked, I don't see how they are planning to do it.
Actually, I can add here. I think that's a dilemma and a social question, right? Is that private companies? If it's you have the mentality of profiteering, right? You'll be replaced, whatever be cheaper, right? So there's no question asked, right? It's also dilemma, and AI it is evolving, right? Right now it's at that level. It's just forecasting tokens. If there is a no shift of a model that the AI really can reason, right? That, and I can give an example, what we're working now, which goes back to the size, right? Our brain uses 20 watts, right? And if you see the neurons, we have about 81 billion. That would be kind of 80 billion parameter model, right? ChatGPT is more than 2 trillion, right? And it's training almost more than I don't know if you guys know the number for sure, but I know it's almost $1 billion in computer power to do that, right? If a new model comes, it's more efficient and it can reason, right? It will replace even more what is it doing now, right? And the key is even I cannot tell when can that happen, right? Because I got really surprised when ChatGPT came, it wasn't even ChatGPT, was to create image, right? I think it was DALL-E. And they had won a tournament in Colorado for art. And I thought that would be the last thing that AI would be able to do, is being creative, getting a lot of art and then put it together and create one, right? And he won the tournament there, right? And you can see a lot of art being done. Soon, probably is going to be doing movies too, right? You just type and stuff, you'll be doing it. So it is improving, right? That fear, I think it's a human fear. It's not just a career, right? And that's really affecting, right? We've never gone, like, they say today we are in the fourth industrial revolution, right? And we're now replacing white collar, people really expertise in it too. It's not just blue collar physical work, right? Now it's mental work. Like she mentioned there, it's more repetitive tasks that are being into, but it can evolve to not just repetitive tasks, it can evolve to reason. And that will go back to your question again about the AI training itself. It wouldn't work because it cannot reason and get out of the bulk of the data that it already has. So you keep on this loop doing that. But if you learn how to reason, and that's what sets us apart from the AI, we can get very little data with 81 billion, with just 20 watts, and come up with like theory of relativity and many other research, right? So with just this little power that we have in mind compared to AI with much more memory than us, much more processing power and neurons.
Can I have one more thing? Everybody, when they leave here, should Google what Socrates said about the written word. And Socrates thought that the written word would stop people from thinking critically. We wouldn't be able to train young people. All these things we're talking about, because Socrates thought the written word would do that. Then you know, every technology has come along without the same thing. Now, I'm not saying this is nothing to worry about, but it's just kind of interesting.
We almost there too, right? You can see that, I think we talked about AI, but we use the word algorithm, right? Algorithm controls what you search, what you look, and keep you in that bubble.
Yeah.
You probably know about Analytica when they were involved on the election in the US in 2018 and targeting specific people with information, right? Information is key, not just for AI, but for us humans.
Sure, yeah.
And that shapes you, right? You think in control, but the technology now is kind of somewhat controlling us in some aspect. And it goes to the ethical decision again. So the ethical will go to our jobs, how we are distributing the data, right, with that information, which sadly it's not moving forward as it should be. And then we should be questioning it. Asking those questions is important. We have to continue to do it and seek answers to it, because that kind of shapes what we are, human, right?
And we also add that AI is currently like very tip of the iceberg, like it has not reached all the countries or all the institutions, so everybody would probably have to evolve as AI becomes more and more.
Hi guys, good afternoon. I have two questions for you. Thank you very much for your time. It's been very valuable. Number one, I wanted to get each opinion of you as of when do you believe AI will overtake human intelligence in all aspects of life? Then, question number two, I wanted to ask you guys for any book recommendations or podcasts or content creators that you follow in order for us to understand more about this topic. Thank you.
Sure, I mean the first question I do not know. When we're going to be replaced? I hope not. The second question is, I'm reading this book, Building Large Language Model from Scratch. It's a technical book, but it explains in simple terms how large language model is built. And like we've been talking about it, it's just a text completion model, basically. So if you just keep telling it that you have croissant for breakfast every morning, and then when you ask it, it will just tell you the same. So it's not innovating. AI itself, it's not conscious. It doesn't have any consciousness. It doesn't think. So it's not as scary as we think it is, really. It's just, it consumes a lot of data though. So it knows almost everything, essentially. and I think it's just smarter than everybody in that sense. But it doesn't think. For example, if you tell it to build a car, it will just go and build a car really, really fast, the same way that has been built for the past 100 years. But it will not be able to build a better car because that's how it's trained. And I think that the scary part of AI when it comes to that is when it start to think and when it start to reason, to say that, okay, is this how I supposed to build a car? Maybe I should innovate a little bit. Maybe I should put 2 wings into the car so it can fly. That's when it gets scary, and I do not know when that day's gonna come. Yeah, but yeah, that's my answer.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You prepared a sales report on Excel, and you said this seems working fine, and there's no problem. So now you want to take and put it in AI. How do you do it? Or you just leave it the way it is?
A sales report in Excel, I will just leave it the way it is. Yeah. Exactly. So, but if you want to actually handle a lot more data, or you want to create a better report with like graph, where you can click on something, it brings you to a next page where you can dive into, okay, why this month my expenses are so high is because I dine out like 3 more times than last month. And things can get complicated and Excel might not be able to do it. That's when I start thinking about, okay, should I leave Excel and get into some other tools like Tableau and Power BI?
Because now it's very clear, everything's there.
Yeah, things are working, and there's no reason why we should leave an Excel report. Yeah, I use Excel to track my expenses every month, but when it get really big and I want to dive into it, hey, like look into my expenses and tell me like what's the difference between this month and the past 6 months. That's where AI comes in the picture and say, hey, like you have a tendency of dining out a little bit more. You have 10 more subscription than 6 months ago, and stuff like that. Things that is not very apparent, very feasible in a way, and that's when I use AI. And actually, that's what I do. I dump a lot of bank account statement and stuff like that into my local model and start asking it questions. But yeah, a sales report is a sales report. So.
To your question, where will AI be? I think I suggest everyone to look for AI 2027. There is an article. If you Google it, you will find this article. It was written by OpenAI researchers, ex-researchers, and all the other very renowned folks. There is a very interesting point there that AI can go 2 directions. One, it can be faithful to us. The other one, it can be against us. So it is a really interesting point. I don't want to go deep into it. It will take a lot of time to explain. I would like to you guys to go through it. I think my point of view is that as we got to know about the reasoning and the hallucination, it is a given problem. Vinny also mentioned that hallucination is not something that we can leave it off. Like it is not something that will go away as it is. I think it will take a lot more time, maybe 10 years or maybe 5 years. We don't know. So I think that is a question open ended for.
Well, thank you so much for all your perspectives and times, and it's been very valuable. I have 2 questions. The first one being, have you used AI to research or prep for this meeting? Like what kind of tools you guys used just to get you ready for this meeting? I'll let you elaborate first before I get to my second one.
Yeah, that was a very smart question. So I haven't because before coming to this meeting I was playing with the model. I had to get the work done. So this day-to-day work, the life that I go through is get up in the morning 9:30 and start with the model, try to do some coding and try to get the work done. So that has been my day-to-day. So there is no research as such because I deal with financial industry and we really care about our data. So we have to make sure the models that we're using are the models that will go into production. So that is a day-to-day thing that I do.
I can add there, I can answer your question and your question too. Yeah, I research at Gemini because I want to share with the team. I don't want everybody leaves here with empty-handed, just words, right? There's an article, not an article, there's an index of AI, very true, made by Stanford University, which is free available to everyone, right? And it's called, that's why I was on my phone checking there, I was telling you what is the link of the AI. It's called the AI Index 2025 Trends, Stanford. Right? And I was using the AI to find it. And I ask you to put that on your search, because there will be research across many fields, right, that they pull up data and give insights. And there's a lot of information there, right? There is information about governments that are using AI, and I can give an example that maybe Brazilians do not know. The TCU, which is an organ responsible, almost the SEC here, right? They use 20 AIs. It's one of the Brazilian companies that has been most using AI in the OECD, right? That's one, right? And there's many things like on education, on investments. You're trying to understand. This last report is showing that most of the venture capital investment is siphoning towards AI. Right? If you're pitching for a company, put the AI word there to catch the attention. Almost like 1/4 to almost 2/3 now is going directly to whoever is building AI and everything else. I do not know the impact on other companies who are not doing the AI, but on venture capital, that is all. There's a lot of information there, too many fields on health, maybe law. If you don't find there, it's a huge research. It's a lot of information, but it's digestible. It's most wording and a chart and give you right there the information. It doesn't go in details on the calculation that it did. I advise you to look for that, right? AI Trends 2025 Stanford paper, and then look it to your field, your domain, and see if there's anything there. Use keywords to search through the document or throw the PDF there on ChatGPT. That's way, is anything here talking about my domain, my field, and see what it gives you back, right? So that gives you an idea of how things are changing, how it's improving, how it's developing. Right? So it helps to keep in track or answer a couple of questions that I already have and maybe we're not here to answer. It's a really thorough paper and we use that on the firm to kind of guide ourselves in our decisions. It helps anyone to guide themselves on their decisions too. And if it doesn't have there, that means you're in a good position. That means the AI has this gap that you can help there solve it.
To answer your question, I didn't. For AI, today I didn't prep using AI, but just before this meeting I was writing a LinkedIn post and I used ChatGPT to kind of clean it off and make it more presentable on LinkedIn. So that is where my native language is not English. It is like I come from India and we study English, but it is not as refined as it is in America. So sometimes that nuanced words AI helps me a lot. And to follow like what is going on in AI, like you guys can start with just for the basics. There are Coursera courses by Andrew Ng, AI for Everyone, and there are like more detailed courses as well, which can help you understand the different terms of AI. And for research, I kind of follow a lot of people from OpenAI, Anthropic, Hugging Face, where I get like people post about it and also follow their website for updated news of what is going on in AI and the research. So that helps me a lot. And there is another tool called Notebook LM, and that can help you summarize your documents as well as YouTube videos. You guys can use that, and it is like I have been using that a lot to just summarize YouTube videos. Sometimes I don't want to listen to a whole YouTube video and just want to know what is inside it. I use that a lot.
By the way, we're going to send an email with all this information we're talking about. Okay? So don't worry trying to memorize. I know the human capability. I can remember 85% of what's spoken. We will send an email with details of what we spoke here.
And the World Economic Forum released their Future of Work report in January. I'm using that in research. That's very good to understand the future of work.
For sure.
My friend Tyler is taking all the notes, so you can just ask me. Just kidding, bro.
Sure, really want.
By the way, have you used the functionality of deep research on ChatGPT and Claude as well?
Yes, I
And
have.
stuff like that.
And recently, I was speaking to a master grad student, and she recommended another AI to consolidate a large amount of research paper and to I haven't explored it. I learned it very recently, but yeah.
Yeah, I use deep research a lot. I love researching and trying to just I was a researcher for many years. And deep research is actually really good. Throw a bunch of documents in there, ask it to scrape the entire internet about a topic, and then it comes up with about 4 or 5 page document of things, and then you can just double clicking into things where the sources are from, and then go deeper into that. And I think, that feature is just highly recommended.
Yeah, I was wondering if you feel it's biased. It has it's kind of, to me, what I have done, I found that model was unless you're a senior lawyer, you have good ability to navigate through it, having your own perspective on certain sense, ethical aspects, other things. Unless you have that, like everybody covers before, the research stuff that they see back at you is very biased. It's limited in leading you to believe in.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I do find that too, which is why, first of all, I use a bunch of it to, I cycle through a bunch of tools for my deep research, but at the same time, I would always double click into sources to double check information. When writing paper though, I just feel like it's really, really important to just write it with your own opinions and your own observations. But deep research is something that I find incredibly useful when you need to pull thousands of sources of documents and articles and papers to just gather to maybe 100 bullet points where you need to double clicking into it.
Yeah, the current state of things here is we started 1 hour ago with 4 questions, and now we have 7 questions signed up to go. So if we keep 1 hour, we're going to have 10 questions and then 20, unless you guys can turn this in a marathon, I guess we gotta cut it. But we do have another event on the 19th, next Tuesday, and maybe we are going to need to make it recurring every Tuesday. Let's make it a thing, Let's check with the chamber first. But the thing is, the questions are endless because everyone has a single perspective. You work in different fields, you work in different industries, you have different needs. And every single aspect of AI that we spoke today applies differently for your industry now. So we're going to have more events like this, hands-on for you to adapt for your own necessities, or maybe don't adapt. Like you're saying, you have an experience with Excel, we can do that very, very easily, right? So we're going to have this as a continuation. We do have a lot of questions, so I'm going to open time for networking here, 20 minutes or so, as we have limiting the time. And I would like to close with a minute of remarks from each of the speakers today. And at the end, I would just ask for us to take a picture and then to record this first of many that we're going to have. Manish, would you like to start? 1 minute of closing remarks for today.
Sure, thank you. I think it's really good to see everyone here so much enthusiastic about AI and its developments and want to be part of it. I really enjoy seeing this crowd. I think my takeaways is that AI is here to stay. So it's up to us to adapt it and to try to reconfigure our work ethics and try to adapt it to the AI systems. So that's how I think the world will be from now on. It's a new system that we have to get adapted to. I thank you, Matthias, for the session. It was really effective. And I would want to answer more questions, but in the interest of time, maybe later.
Thank you for coming. Yeah, you want to quickly close with your 1 minute?
Thank you so much, everyone, for the opportunity for me to speak here, and it was really wonderful interacting with you all. I would just say, like, if anybody is fearful of AI, don't be. Just it is a wave, ride on it, and we would be ahead than the ones who are not, who are still fearful. And it will, like, just ride the wave. It is there to stay, so just ride it. And it is like, think of it as a friendly helper, which can help you do your work much faster. And if anybody wants to connect with me, just connect with me on it.
Wonderful. Thank you. Calvin.
Yeah, it's truly an honor really to meet you all today with a lot of domain expertise, lawyers and researchers. Really humbled. It's great like to be able to chat about AI. We're living in this, I don't know, century of innovation. So really thank you all for coming today for having a chat. Connect with me on LinkedIn if you ever want to chat about anything over coffee. Feel free. So yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you for this event. I appreciate. Thank you for attending. I know there might be more questions there. Reach out to us for it too, the young profession, if you want to be part or see what's going on here between Brazil and the US, if you're interested as well. And I think my advice is like, you're not behind. Right? You're not behind. So technology is always evolving, and my advice is that always jump on it. Right? But don't try to stop it. You couldn't stop the calculator. You couldn't stop social media, so you won't stop AI either, but embrace it, right? And try to jump as quick as possible. Try to brush away the fear, even though it's like, I don't think I fit to this. When I was learning, I did the same way, right? Going back again, believe in myself, like I can do it. I didn't have a master's or PhD, and I have to keep reminding myself, you're gonna get there, it's gonna get there. It takes time, but it does, right? It makes you stand out from the crowd, as far as you're not fearful of it. So embrace it, you're not behind. And coming to these meetings, I hope that brought you some knowledge or some information that maybe you didn't believe that your work could be meaningful for AI, and I hope we pass that out. And embrace you guys to look for ethical AI, new use cases that we don't know, and probably you know the problem because you're the expert. We need you. AI needs you.
Wonderful. So I'd like to thank all the speakers to come today, all of you that came and asked all of these questions. I would like to thank a lot the Chamber for hosting us. If you want to know more about the Chamber, please speak with Fernanda, Mauricio. They can explain about how it works. And we are going to have more. So check the website. We just went live with the invite for next week. Please come, attend more of our events. Reach out to our speakers. You can reach out to me too on LinkedIn, on email. If you want to stay a little network, have some snacks. We're going to take a big picture here in the stage, and let's build the future of AI together, right? Thank you, everyone.